Kathy Campbell.
Why, hello, Alex Cox. Are you staying warm over there?
Oh my goodness. No. Yeah, it is. It's about -30 in Chicago. Actually, Alexa, what's the weather like?
Currently, in Chicago, it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit with cloudy skies.
Oh, it's warming
Tonight,
up.
You can expect snowy weather with a low of -1 degrees.
This is so warm. Okay, this is messed up, but I am stoked. That is okay. Yesterday, the wind chill, it was officially -32 degrees Fahrenheit. In Chicago with a wind chill of -55, and we were colder than some places in the Arctic and most of Mars. So fun facts for it's official, global warming's a hoax.
I'm so glad that you heard it here first in the hard-hitting news of our day.
I have to say, how are you, Kathy Campbell? Because this is the first time I think we've ever recorded, and I have zero notion of what we're going to talk about today.
I know. I don't know either. Although we could have a celebratory "I'm not pumping anymore" party.
Yay!
It's been a little bit over a week and a half since I started the transition, and it's been about a week since I've hooked myself up to any sort of machine, and ready to get my body back and see how my hormones can settle. And hopefully you know what? No, hopefully it's the wrong word, but we'll see if I need to go back on any sort of antidepressants or anti-anxiety or any of that, depending on how things go, because I don't know if you know this, but having a baby screws with everything.
I mean, I can imagine, but I have not had the experience.
Yes.
Nor the pleasure.
Nor the torture.
Nor all the other stuff.
Yeah. It all of the hormones and all of the everything that make your body, grow a human and then feed a human and all of that, it really messes with you. So it'll be interesting to see how the next couple months go. And example, like my day Monday was just a complete, utter shit show. But turns out it's because I started my period yesterday and I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, no.
That's why. So, yeah.
I was about to ask, when did you start? I was about to ask, when did you? So, how long have you been having periods? For some reason, is a question I was about to ask, and not because it's like inappropriate, just because I was born a woman, and I know that I can make a good assumption that you've been having periods for quite a while. I don't. It's so cold. It's so cold, okay, making the assumption. Should we talk about her? I want to talk. I know that you have had a super stressful week, and we can talk about that, or we can talk about our first periods, or ending pumping. The ball is in your pod court.
Well, I think that we should talk about our first periods.
I mean, I think
because then it'll be less of a one-sided conversation. So we will both have things and stories to share.
All right. Let's. You want me to do my quick synopsis?
I mean, I've already started talking about that. So I guess, content warning, but I honestly don't care about that. So whatever, moving on. I didn't start until I was 16.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
I should have asked that question. Go on.
Yeah. Which is apparently a family trait, is to start later in life. My mom, if I remember correctly, and I could not be, but she didn't start until she was 18, and I think my grandma didn't start until she was 20.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Hashtag blessed, but maybe not. I
don't know. It just
wow,
means
go
like
on.
we wouldn't, in medieval times I would have held out longer for I wouldn't have gotten married at 12, because they normally would restrict the marriage age until you've bled, with the exception of like child like marriages. But yeah, it was 16, and I didn't realize that I had like, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm pooping, because nobody tells you that it's not bright red. Like that's not a thing that because it was this weird brown color. So I didn't quite realize that it was actually my period for a couple days.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Did you just think you were dying?
I to be fair, I don't actually know what I was thinking, but yeah, dying was probably right up there.
That makes me so, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's been really good that I have gotten my period since the baby, because now is more of a time to have a conversation with Avi, because as she gets older and closer to the time where she could start her period, I'm able to like show her what it looks like, and all of those things that get involved with having your period and how to use the pad and all of that stuff without having it be super weird, or like, today we will have a lecture on our periods.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I'm still reeling from 20 years old and brown and so will she so it's an inherited trait. Do you my mind is blown by this. I am both jealous and fascinated, and oh man. I wish that had been a thing in my family. It's not, and it's also early menopause is not a thing. We're just all the
breeding
time, every day.
machines.
Oh, indeed. Have you had any sort of talks with her?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. We've always been very like, it's just been something easy to talk about, and like any questions that are had or anything like that are just kind of like, just brought up, because if you have a conversation at all of the little things, it's so much easier than having to try and keep everything secret or separate until you have that moment.
The talk.
Yeah.
There's many talks, but it's like everyone is labeled the talk.
Yeah.
Like in the Golden Girls episode where they call it the curse. Have you seen this Golden Girl episode?
I still haven't.
Okay, ever? Okay,
No.
that's all right. That's all right.
No.
I'm going to tell this bit, and it's not a spoiler because it's in like most Golden Girl plots, the plot is they're telling a story. And so Blanche, who is, the slutty Southern belle, and I will always say, slut is not a slur if they self-identify. It's self-identified slut and gorgeous lady. They're all talking about their periods and menopause, and she's like, I remember on my 12th birthday, I expected to get the curse. And, oh, wait, no, I gotta do my... Okay, we're gonna do a Georgian accent.
Ooh.
My mother
Ooh.
always said, 12th birthday, you're going to get the curse. And we always talked about the curse and all the women getting the curse. And finally, my mama in her 50s, she stopped having the curse. And so my 12th birthday happened, no curse. Up to my 16th birthday, no curse. And so my mama finally took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, Blanche, you mean to say you haven't gotten your period yet? And she said, my period? Gosh, I've had that since I was 14. What do you think I am, a child? And I just always loved it because it was the exact... Keep in mind, again, show in the 80s, it highlighted how strange we paint these conversations.
Yes.
Of, like, I mean, yes, indeed. In my personal experiences with periods, horrible. But it wasn't like this, like, strange... curse that it was put upon.
Like if you go about and you present it as, you know, something with a name like the curse or Aunt Flo or any of that, like it's kind of like when in Harry Potter how everyone called Voldemort, he who must not be named. It gives them power and it gives them like confusion.
Yes.
When really just call him Voldemort.
Oh God. And I am not saying that, like, I love having nicknames for bodily functions and body parts. That's not what we're talking.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's like, let's explain what menstruation is, aka periods, aka the red wave and Shark Week and all the fun things.
Right.
But without obfuscating the whole, you know, what's going to happen and it's probably going to hurt. But you don't need to be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Let's all hate this together.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. And really, men that are listening to this still, like... Dude, so much power to non-toxic masculinity to be able to and willing to go like to the store to pick up feminine products. Like, why was it such a thing that was not cool for dudes to do? I do not understand. My dad had no problem with it. My brother has no problem with it. Ryan had no problem with it. Like, that's a good indicator, heterosexuals or even bisexual, like, wow. If you are looking at dating a man, whoever you are, and if you have a period, whoever you are, that's a great indicator if they're a keeper, because if they're refusing to go to the store to pick up a needed item,
they're an actual monster.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yes. Like, I can't, and also this, it unfortunately, that mentality, which I think it's slowly going down, but
I think so too.
It made it so hard. And it would essentially out a lot of trans men who would go stealth, meaning they did not share that they were trans, like with everybody. There's varying degrees, but like it becomes this thing like beep 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 beep. A woman's checking out, and no, not just the majority of women get periods, but not just women get periods,
right? And
not all women have periods. It's not a big deal to buy some cotton that you're gonna shove up a vagina, like,
right?
Or put in some underwear. It's or a cup. Like, there's so many things,
so many options out there.
So many options. God, it's so like I mean, I know, and I admit that I have I've gotten over we actually call them unspeakable feminine products in our office because all of our bathrooms are gender neutral and all of them have, you know, all the supplies necessary, whatever body parts you have. But we, like, back in the day, whatever, it was like 4 years ago when we'd have a smaller office and we were like ordering the stuff ourselves, and we'd always put like it would be unspeakable feminine product inside low, like light, at medium, high, like for the different tampon levels, and unspeakable feminine product, and then like the exact brand of what kind of pad. But it's just, so in our office it's just I have to always remember that I don't think that that's an offensive joke, but I can see a woman, like, it's not like they're labeled that, but
Right.
we just talk about like that in our office, and I really need to remember not to alienate folks. I'm sorry, this is just a stream of consciousness I'm having in my head, and I wonder if I've ever said to somebody, oh, yes, these are bathrooms, and if you want, you can get Tylenol and Speakable Feminine products, mints, and I've definitely done that before. Mental note.
I think you might have told me that, in fact.
Like, it's one of those things where it's, like, not even a joke. Like, you just go for it.
Yeah.
And, oops. Sorry. Oh, wow. Should I do my period story?
I think now is that appropriate time, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm very out of sorts because I'm also recording from my bedroom because it's also ungodly. And you just should not. It's literally unsafe
should not leave
to,
your
like,
house.
leave a house. Yes, and our studio also flooded. So we're recording later than normal anyway. And you're like, oh, see, global warming is a hoax. No, sometimes pipes burst. But that's what I called it when I got my first period. Sorry. Wow, and I laughed at my own joke. There's a lot of, oh boy. So I remember getting a book called The Care and Keeping of You, which was and is an American Girl doll book, but about human girls.
Human doll parts.
Human doll parts. And it was all about, it was not a sexy time book. It was purely about, like, taking care of oneself, and, like, obviously sexy times are a part of that for some people, but it was very, like, innocuous. Like, this is how you do, like, brush your hair, brush your teeth, also here are tampons. And it wasn't like it was, like, fine and informative, but it was one of those things where every single person or every single young girl had this book. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I seem to remember it, like, existing, but I think it came out after I was of the age. We did the Focus on the Family thing.
Oh, what?
Yeah. There was, like,
what?
I'm trying to think of what it was called or whatever. But okay, hold on. Family. So when we turned, it was preparing for adolescence, like something. But, like, there was a little packet that came, and, like, we each took a weekend. So my mom took me, I think, when I was 12, might have been younger. But we went out we had a weekend with just the two of us where we had the talk and conversations about all of that. And my dad took my brother again for a weekend where we just are like, this is what hair grows, and, like, talk to like shaving needs and that sort of thing. And, like, just talked about the scientific part of it, you know, that your breasts are going to start developing maybe, and where the hair will grow, and how to make, like, why it's important to stay clean and to make sure that the hot spots are cleaned, which were, you know,
what are hot spots?
Like your armpits and in between your legs, like the parts that get stinky.
So the parts that get literally hot. Okay,
yes,
that actually
yes.
that helps.
Yeah. So we just had that, and that was just kind of the thing that we did. And again, it was all very, like, it wasn't a big deal necessarily. It was just like, let's talk about it and make it happen. Like,
question, did you have a party?
I did not have a party.
No, nor did I, but this was very, like this was like rampant when I was a kid.
Wow.
Have you never heard of this? Yeah.
Like, okay, do they have a
Uh-huh.
period when, like, a party when your period starts?
Mm-hmm. It's like after you've had your period, like everybody
Oh my
goes out to dinner as a family to celebrate becoming a woman. Yeah. I actually
Like, we may have like gone out to dinner, but I don't know if I would call it a party.
I mean, yeah, I'm thinking now, because so I was talking about this book, and it was one of those things like my parents when I got a book, my parents knew I was gonna read it, so I read the whole thing, and it covered like cleanliness, like it even had like really like quite animated, not animated, like really visual helpful ways of like showing how to do stuff, even like putting in a tampon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't have like, I remember like getting my period wasn't the scarring part. The part was the fear that I would be the first one in my class to get my period. So I think it was like relatively early, like 12, because it was always the thing. Like I always knew that like, I don't know, like the periods were a thing. I truly don't remember the time that it sort of like was like, this is a thing that happened. It was very, my mom wasn't like, oh, bleeding from my vagina again. But it was like, I truly like, I knew that like there were bloody downstairs times. And anyway, but it was very like taboo in our school. Like, girls would there's all this gossip, and like like we would start to be like, oh, we hear the wrappers of like a tampon or a pad, and like like not even, there wasn't like, thank God this was the one thing where like nobody was really bullying each other, but it was like this curiosity,
right?
know? And I mean, yeah, this is like one of those things that there honestly was no ill intent, and I hated middle school. Oh boy, that'll be another thing. But I dreaded that, and I remember the first time I heard someone's like pad things crinkle, I was like, oh no. And like we all looked at each other with like tragic faces, more so because it's like, yeah, all of these girls are in a bathroom, and there's this one girl peeing, and like we all know what's happening, and that's just horrifying for a kid. And it was like the secondhand embarrassment, which is obviously ridiculous, but then even worse, I remember feeling, oh, thank God it won't be me,
right?
being the first one,
right?
because like within
we think as kids is you're like, oh, that one's not me.
I mean, yeah, that was the narrative of like it, not like the shame is just implicit, carried down. And luckily, I do remember it was kind of the same story as you. Is like, I thought it was. I'm like, what is this? In retrospect, I think I had just gotten like a super light period, and I talked to my mom, and I was like, I'm not sure. I didn't, because like. I'll go for it. Went to wipe. There was some stuff that didn't quite look right, but there wasn't anything in my underwear. So I was like, Mom, I think I got my period. And to her credit, like and she'd also said like, hey, just, here, like we've stocked up on pads, like the like little pads. And she's like, just let me know. Okay. But if I'm not home, here's where it is. Like, cool. Right. Thanks, Mom.
Awesome.
And so I let her know. And she's like, oh, well, let me see. And I'm like, I flushed. I didn't save it. Which I guess there's nothing wrong with doing that. I just didn't.
Right.
So that that happened. And then I think it was like the next month that it was like, oh, yeah, this is a period. And I was very lucky that it was my period started. I was not super young, but I was like on the early side of 12. But I mean, but it wasn't so much like I never had a horrific story of like I was in school and it'd be very on brand for something like that to happen to me. But, you know, you read, I don't know if any 17-year-old has actually read the magazine 17, but when you're like 10 to 14, it's the shit.
Oh, yeah.
And all of these horror stories of like bleeding in a pool, or one time a girl's dog found her tampon, and like her boyfriend was like, oh, there's something in your dog's mouth, and yeah, like, so all of these horrific, embarrassing things were in my mind. And again, in retrospect, all inconvenient and shitty, but like the world goes on.
Right.
And it was like a slow ascent to like terribleness, and then eventually, you know, the cramps and horribleness happened, and now I hate my period, and it's horrible. That's my story.
Yay!
Yeah, like I luckily have a very uneventful first period story. And no, we did not have a party, but I guess in retrospect, my mom maybe got like Culver's or like my favorite food or something, because she could tell I was like stressed about it, but it wasn't like Alex has become a woman.
Right.
Like, good for them.
Yeah, no,
Not
that's
being weird.
Yeah, I feel like that would be weird. Or like, we're going to Red Robin to celebrate your womanhood. Come and join us, aunt and uncle.
Literally, I went to one of those. Oh, wow. It was literally Red Robin. I remember it and being like, okay, it was my friend Stephanie, and we were like her family and some of her extended family was there, and like our group of friends, and okay, I guess, like, I do not want to shame anybody for celebrating a milestone in their life, but it was super fucking weird.
Well, it feels very much like a callback to the days when you were then able to be married off and
exactly
able to
like
create children.
It wasn't a choice she made. It wasn't like, oh, good job. Like,
right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
weird. I take it back. It's a weird thing to celebrate. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, nothing good or bad has happened. I don't know. I'm waffling. I think you do deserve a treat, because it's like this burden that you've been dreading. Like, here, just relax, have some tea, have some fast food, here's some chocolate. You're gonna be doing this every time you get your period, probably, so let's start it off.
Let's start it early so that you can understand that it's okay,
that you should not feel bad. You might feel more fat. Guess what, it's gonna happen.
Yep.
For a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, but I had forgotten how so obviously periods suck.
Mm-hmm.
And so after Avi was born, I had the Marina IUD put in, and proceeded to then not have a period.
Oh, nice.
For almost 8 years, because then so I had it replaced at 5 years. And then they removed it before we got pregnant for the surrogate baby. And the period after that, because you have to get a period before you start the medication so that the pattern is correct and all of that. And I had forgotten how much it sucks.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh my God.
Like,
oh my gosh.
Because it had been 8 years or so since I had a period.
Oh my gosh.
I get cramps in the back.
Oh.
I had forgotten about the period poo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oof. And just the not funness of it. And I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean... See, here's another implicit. I'm like, oh, fuck you, Kathy. There's no reason. Like, this is... fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, listeners probably know, but my wife is AFAB, or assigned female at birth, but is genderqueer and transmasc. So he does not get a period. And, like, however... sometimes gets phantom periods because that's still a thing that happens. I'm curious, did that happen to you?
Like where you have some of like the emotional and stuff, but you don't actually bleed?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it because his were always very regular, and mine have never been. Oh God, and we can talk about that. I did not have the regularity of 8 years. Not that. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm just that man. What in 8 years?
Yeah. Yeah. It was. And then after I had the baby, they put another IUD in, and I'm still getting periods with this, which is so not happy about that. That's a whole other conversation, I feel. So
wait, is it supposed to stop them?
Well, so it that's one of the, not side effects, but it can be a benefit of this particular IUD. It has a small amount of hormones. So it's like both of the previous ones I had, it stopped completely. And so I have had, let me look at my fancy little doohickey here. 1, 2, 4. I've had 4 in the last 8.5 months. They didn't start until August, so it was 3 months after I had the baby that I had them, and then it was like 3 months, and then 2 months, and now we're like getting closer and closer together, possibly having it, and I'm not impressed.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, especially since I apparently am showing like strong hormonal reactions a couple days for my PMS. So yeah. Being a woman
I'm
is
sorry.
great.
Yeah, right? I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I've never really had, well, I don't know. Because I'm bipolar, mood swings when I like pre-birth control and stuff, it wasn't really, I don't know. It was never like, oh man, I have PM. I don't know. It like I do have very, very bad cramps. Like, and then it comes with migraines and like, but I actually went on birth control when I was, maybe 13 or 4. No, I was older than, no, yes, I was in high school. So I think I was like 15 or 16 when I went on birth control for acne, because my acne was just terrible, and I still is. Everybody in my family has had like really rough acne, but like at the time I was getting like cystic acne, which it was the kind of cystic acne where it doesn't show up, but under the skin it's incredibly painful. And when you're going to Catholic school and everyone's telling you how immoral birth control is, and then suddenly your doctor's like, oh, this will be easy. We'll just get you on birth control and this will clear right up. And again, my mom, to her credit, was like, oh, that sounds great. And I was like, but, and I like, and my mom like talked me down, was like, no, this is just, you're obviously not using it for its intended purpose, everything. And also she wasn't shaming people, like women who were using it. But was like, don't, basically like, calm down, you're not going to hell. oh baby,
man.
Oh freshman Alex. But so I was on birth control until the past, and unfortunately still then my periods are kind of all over the place. I use a lovely app called Clue.
I use Clue too.
Yeah, it's super helpful in not only just tracking your periods, but the mood and the pain levels and all of this stuff around your period. It's great. if you are trying to have a kid, if you're not trying to have a kid, like it's just great. And it's also very it's super gender neutral. So if you're a dude who gets periods, like I know, like it can really cause dysphoria for a lot of trans men, and this one is like top notch. Like it's very matter of fact and very well designed, so great for nerds too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's artistically like very pleasing. And it's very just overall like it's such a great
without
app.
like a fucking blooming flower or something,
right? I don't need a flower. I don't need the advertisements for it, like or let's run on the beach in our white shorts.
Oh my god.
No.
Yeah. And this has been great because I know I was all fuck you no period for 8 months, but 8 years. Oh god. But there were a number, I almost went an entire year without getting regular period, like I just didn't, except for, of course, the one time I was in another country and needed to, and I had a friend's wedding. Of course, that was the time when suddenly, oh, hey, your body is functioning and could have made a baby. But like I've got polycystic ovaries, which is something that not even I fully understand. So I can't really explain it other than it'll probably be hard to have kids and it kind of sucks. And my ovaries hurt all the time. Not all the time, but a lot. And so I went off girth control. What is the girth control, aka a corset? I don't know.
Oh, wow.
But in an attempt to like figure out like, okay, why are these periods abnormal and stuff like that, it hasn't really helped. So periods are a big stressor nowadays, not because when I get them they're really, really bad because I'm not on birth control, and I also don't know when the heck they're going to happen. Luckily, the pain starts early, so I know
it's coming.
Yeah, so I'm like, God, what the fuck? Did I eat something? What's happening? Oh, no, it's a period.
Yeah. Ugh.
So, at least I got that going for me. But anyway, yeah, I don't really know. That's, again, like, there's the other, I really want to revisit in another episode the whole focus on the family thing, because we had that in our school, and that was our sex ed.
Yeah.
And that's just sex ed in schools, man.
Wow. Yeah.
Ooh.
So I remember in high school we had our in our health class, and like we had to write a paper on what we would do if we got pregnant.
What?
Yeah. And I remember talking to the teacher and being like, well, I'm choosing to practice abstinence, so that's not a problem. Like, I don't have to make this decision. And she was just like, well, you got to write it anyways. And I'm just like, oh, but
okay. Yeah. All right. You're in a public school, and they're like, did they present like options, like, or was it like abortion or keep it? Like, what does that essay look like?
They talked about like, would you choose to have an abortion? Would you choose to keep it? Would you choose to adopt? Like, would you choose to like have a just all of the different options. They didn't necessarily talk about like birth control really, or like how to prep. Like, we never had the banana with the condom thing that I can remember. But yeah, you had to talk about what would happen if you got pregnant. We did have like daycare in the school, so there were kids that to finish your high school degree, you would just bring your kid to school and have them hang out at the daycare. So
that's
that was a thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that is not a thing that, well, obviously it didn't exist at my Catholic school, but I did not. And I know that it exists now, but definitely not in any of the public schools. And this fucking sucks, but I have a feeling that had to do with the affluent community I lived in, and that, you know, pregnancies were either like you took a semester off of school, or we found out much later, well, by much later, I mean like a year after it happened, but there were tons of, again, I don't want to say tons, but like for a small Catholic school, there was a very high ratio of girls who got abortions in my school, because you can't, you know, your father's a doctor. You can't have a baby. You can't be a pregnant teen.
It's almost as if abstinence-only education doesn't work.
I know, right?
I'm shocked. Shocked, I say.
I know, right? And it was, unfortunately, I mean, it's a very, like, our sex ed in / health class in high school for a Catholic school wasn't as bad as you would think it to be. Like, it was kind of and also we had the internet at that point,
right?
So it was very much like a, you know, abstinence, but also like, you won't learn this here, but you know what I mean. So they weren't giving away condoms or putting condoms on a banana, but I almost all of my friends that I knew of were on birth control for like one reason or another, like whether it be controlling periods or by birth control I mean the pill, because that was a very, and still is, like a really common way to deal with periods or other like thyroid issues and stuff like that. But it was truly tragic, not because people got abortions obviously, but the amount of shame and lack of, like, even more, like, talk about a right to choice. Like, these girls, and now my friends, and like we've since become friends, like they had no choice in this matter. They went to a doctor and then they were out of the doctor and nobody spoke of it. And it, like, truly unfortunate situations of, you know, and I don't know if, like, how sex ed could have prevented it, honestly, but there the culture of shame, like, even like I don't want to speak for, like, my friends and the people I went to school with, but I did talk to a friend who is absolutely pro-choice, and at the time it wasn't that she wasn't, but she was like, having an abortion at that age, like, medically and physically was the best thing for me, but emotionally, like, I wanted it, but because there was so much baggage and shame, it really fucked me up. So like, you know, like, when your parents are furious and, like, just won't talk about this, like, for some people having an abortion is a lot, no matter what stage in life, and some people it's no big deal. It is like, you know, it's like any medical procedure, and when you're that young and there's all of this shame brought,
all of this stigma and shame, and like, you're a terrible person, and yet there really is no talk about the man that contributed to that. And nobody, and that's the even more fucked up thing. Like, we found out all like, about all the girls who had abortions, but, like, it was truly like, oh, she's such a slut, we don't know who the father is. Like, it was disgusting. Ugh. Like, in my specific class, I've talked about this a lot, but, like, the class of, like, 60 or so kids that were in my specific, like, grade, like, freshmen, like, we went through freshman, junior, and senior year together and stuff. The nerds were kind of, like, the normal, like, on top. So basically, like, none of us were getting laid, and, like, even if we tried, we couldn't. So, and also that whole, like, queer and everyone is denial about it, like, that there were a lot of factors. But upperclassmen and underclassmen, like, seeing what they went through was just
oh man, this is taking a dark turn from like chill out about diva cups.
Right.
But well, and focus on the family. It was not a part of high school, but it was a huge part of grade school, because I remember we had this thing where basically I think it was like a couple times a week we would have focus on the family, aka sex ed, and we would all take turns reading paragraphs. And then there was a paragraph about like how a baby is made, and literally my teacher was like, all right, and now I'm gonna read this one myself. And I will never forget the way she like sped through it, and she's like, and then the man inserts the penis into the vagina, and like everybody is like cracking up. Because it's funny when your teacher is like trying so hard to get through this so fast.
Right.
And then I will also never ever forget this. Like later, one of the boys in my class going like, yeah, you turn the key in the ignition and start her up, and like high-fiving. Right.
What?
We were 12, I think. I don't know. It was 5th grade. And I just remember like, that was the first time where I'm like, I fucking hate men. But and then on the way home, oh god, it was at the point we didn't know this, but they had emailed and sent home like letters.
Yeah,
to
you got to
all
get
of the
permission.
parents.
Yeah.
No, not just permission,
Oh.
letting them know the exact day that we were going to talk about it, in case it like
Came home and
really,
had questions.
yeah, and like in case it like really freaked people out. And I like on the way home, oh wow, I'm seeing a analogy with fast food here. I remember I got a slushie, and I was so happy coming home, and mom's like, so there was like health class today, do you have any, like, I know Mrs. Frano talked about stuff, like, do you have any questions? I'm like, no. Like, again, this is something that I knew the basic dynamics of, and I don't know how, like, I don't remember that, but it wasn't, like, I should have been like, yeah, why are men terrible? That should But, oh, man, this has turned into another little therapy session for me, and you've had the bad week. I apologize.
No, believe me, this is
God.
good.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, because it's not the week was not one where, like, I mean, it was basically all hormonal, with the exception of like possibly a period of time where I didn't know if my wallet was lost or not. And all of the things that get involved with that, which, spoiler, it was not lost. Thank goodness. Yay. It's just fallen out of my purse. Oh, but that was a stressful, like, 9 hours.
Yeah. Ugh. Man,
The worst.
I am sorry. That is a constant fear I have, and I've lost many things that have been in a wallet, but never like a full-on wallet. And I've got like a tile, and well, I went through a period of having periods. I went through a time where I had a used phone case wallets, and now I've got this amazing life hack where it's such a thin, I have the privilege of having a very, very thin wallet. I've like made my lifestyle so I have as few cards as possible, and it's super slim, fits in the front of my pants barely because, you know, pockets.
Right.
But it has a tile wallet tracker, so if I lose my wallet, I can do it on my phone and it'll ping my phone. And I also then have it's got a keychain, and my keys are attached, and it's also got a tile on top of that in case the other one dies.
Nice.
So I will always know where my keys and wallet are. Even if I lose them, I will know, okay, they are somewhere in Rogers Park, so we're gonna cancel all of those.
Oh my goodness.
So, man, I am sorry. That just sucks.
Yeah. It was mainly stressful because I had cash and gift cards.
Yeah.
Which, like, this is part of the reason why I hate cash.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Ugh. I'm almost. I rarely carry cash because One, it makes me nervous. Two, it's dirty and it smells bad. And three, even if I chose to, it's not like I have that much cash. But I realize, kind of foolhardy with my debit card. Not that I'm just like, haha, yes, 6 more HomePods, please. But I like, if I'm buying something like weird on the internet, I don't really like, my debit card number was actually stolen recently, and it really sucked, and it was a whole rigmarole. But like, good on Chase for calling me and be like, don't think you're in Ontario. You got from Illinois to Ontario in the past 3 hours.
Right.
And I'm like, nope.
Well done, Chase.
Correct.
Good job.
Although they do also shut off my credit card almost every single time I buy clothes, because that's also something I don't do very often.
And it's like, excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If it's not underwear from Target, like, something's gone wrong.
Right. That's so funny. I love it. Love it.
Well, Kathy
man.
Campbell, I'm so glad that there's been a bit of stress taken off of you, and I hope your period gets better.
Thank you. I hope you thaw out a little bit and maybe don't have to swim in your office. That would be good. That would be good.
It's a strange thing where I'm stoked that it's going to be 20 degrees tomorrow, which is weird itself.
It's like 50 and I have my windows open. God. So, yeah.
But here's why the 20 degrees is great, is it means that the snow is slowly going to melt and not cause flash floods, because that's another thing that often happens, is it gets real warm real fast. Don't worry. By Saturday, it's gonna be 45. But oh god, polar fucking vortexes. But it's okay. I thank everybody for their kind wishes. Like, we were, like, on another show I do, we were kind of making fun of everyone being like, stay safe, stay warm. Thoughts and prayers to Chicago. That literally happened. Like, people are like, sending thoughts and prayers to, like, no, how about you send money to people who will literally freeze outside and die? But it has been, like, genuinely really nice. People have been sending... not just like, hey, stay warm. People like you have been very kind in helping reschedule things, because, man, we had to actually shut our office down, and that's never happened before. So thank you for keeping my heart warm if my appendages can't be. Where can people find you on the internet, Kathy Campbell?
All over the place. You can
plug your book.
Oh, yes. You can go to theunicornsidekick.com and get a book about hiring help for your business. And kathycampbell.com has links out to all of my podcasts, including a very delightful Friends in Your Ears that was recorded at PodCon, where your friend Alex will be there. And
fast forward through that part, but so good. Otherwise.
Well, thankfully it's nice and short, so you don't have to worry about fast forwarding.
Very true.
And on Twitter and Instagram is at Mrs. Soup. And what about you, Alex Cox? Where can people find you?
Nowhere. I'm going to pretend nowhere except Instagram.com. Find me at Alex Cox.
There you
spelled
go.
T-O-X, not the other way on Instagram. I don't know. I've just been Instagram. I feel like, as everybody else has slowly been like, oh, it's so bad and it's FOMO and makes everybody sad. It's the exact opposite for me, and likewise a lot of our nerd friends, because we're like, yeah, like, oh man, it's just so goofy. It's fun. And I'm reading articles about influencers who like design their apartments to look perfect on Instagram. And I'm like, here's my cat and my unwashed sheets. Like, So don't worry. You will not have any FOMO if you look at my Instagram, except if you wish you had a idiot cat. Got a lot of that going on.
Speaking of which, my idiot cat decided to hop on my lap and piss on me this morning, so that was super fun. Yeah.
All right, quick, before we sign off, is this something that happens? Like, why?
What? We don't know, but that was because he had been like peeing on piles of clothes, which was partially like my fault for doing laundry and then not doing anything with said clothes. But this started after Pumpkin died, so we think it was kind of like a stress or anxiety type thing. But when he like peed on me, I was like, all right, that's it. We're going to the vet. And so we have some new food to try out to see if that helps on top of like some anxiety things before we have to get him on kitty Prozac. So we'll see.
Oh, well, I hope that things get better.
Thank you. I hope I don't get peed on again.
Yeah, luckily my cat is what we would call a beta cuck, because he just is completely subservient to his little sister and doesn't pee on anything and doesn't think that he has ownership over anything, which is true. He's a bad little boy. And the only time I wasn't peed on. He had diarrhea all over me, and he was okay. But wow, whoa. So I feel ya. Oh yeah. Man.
No, thank you.
So follow both of us on Instagram for Kathy is truly like a delight, and don't listen. Kathy's stories are like they're just so. They're so good, and they're like my favorite, and it's like when people talk about like, people are sharing their lives, and then people are like, people are sharing their lives. It's that kind of like, this is the nice stuff that you like to see from your friends, and it just makes me happy all the time.
Well, I'm glad, because it makes me happy too, even if it's a shitty day. Like, yeah. Yeah.
It's lovely. And you know what? I hope to see more good stuff and more shit on your Instagram.
Yeah, don't worry. It will all be there.
Bye,
Alex Cox. I love you.
I love you too, Kathy Campbell. Bye-bye.